morning. Welcome to Sunday. So, today we're going to look at preservation. I'm just going to check my stove. Right, as I said, preservation. I'm going to make a jam today, which is a preservation technique, and we're also going to make some scones to go with our jam. So, preservation is the process of preventing food products from decay so that they can be stored safely for longer periods of time. We're also going to be sterilising. So this involves creating an atmosphere that is free from microorganisms. So when it comes to sterilising for jam, you need to grab a jar, wash it in hot soapy water, let it air dry, then you pop it in your oven and let it heat up. And what happens is the heat of the oven will actually kill any bacteria left in the jar, so that when you actually put your jam into it, your jam will keep it for a long time because it's killed everything in there. So with our jam today, we're putting sugar in our jam. So sugar combines with the pectin, and there's pectin in fruits. And the pectin and the sugar, when it's combined together, it actually stops it helps the jam set, and it also preserves it, and it forms like a gel, and that's why jam looks like a jelly type has a jelly consistency, is that the pectin helps it form a gel, and it also helps preserve the jam in the long term, and that's why it lasts for a long time. To maximise the amount of pectin available in the fruit, you want to make sure that you select fresh fruit that's slightly underripe. Pectin levels actually decrease as the fruit ripens. So I have used fruit from the freezer. So in my saucepan here, I've got some raspberries and some blueberries just bubbling up nicely there, which is going to make my jam. And to that, I am going to add my sugar and my lemon juice, and then I'm going to let that come to the boil, and then I'm going to let it boil for about 15-20 minutes until the jam sets, and then I'll show you what it looks like when it's actually setting. So if you have a look in there, I've added my sugar and I'm just mixing it through, and I'm going to make sure that the sugar dissolves in there. I'm going to add my lemon juice in a minute. So my jam is starting to boil up nicely. Hopefully you can see the bubbles there. And I'm going to let that bubble away for about 15 minutes. And then I will show you how to tell if our jam is ready. Pretty simple recipe. Easy to make your own jam. Okay, oh, excuse me. As you can see, our raspberry jam is bubbling away there very nicely. Okay, to tell if our jam is ready, what I'm going to do is drop a little bit on this plate, and if it doesn't run when I tip it too much, it means that it's actually gelled and it's actually ready. Yeah, this is pretty good. So it means my jam is ready. So now I'm just going to turn it off, let it cool down, and then I will tip it into my clean jar. Smells delicious. If you want to have a look, it's in there. Pretty easy to make. Smells beautiful, and it'll taste really nice on our scones when I make our scones next. Alright, so now I'm doing our scones. So in my bowl I have got 4 cups of flour, self-raising flour, because I'm going to take some into the ladies in the school office tomorrow. So I've added my butter, and I'm just rubbing my butter in. But don't mind my husband in the background. So you want to rub your butter in. I only use one hand when I'm doing this, because if I use 2 hands, I get myself in too much of a big mess, as I always tell you guys at school. And that way, this hand is used to actually move the bowl around. Alright, so my butter's rubbed in. got that sort of crumbly type of breadcrumby look, because that's what we're looking for to make sure it's all rubbed in. And I'm going to add 1.5 cups of milk. Now, when making scones, I always like to make my dough quite runny, or not runny, it's quite soft, should be the word, because I always believe that you can always add flour to the mixture, but you can't always add liquid to it if it's too firm. So I'm just adding a little bit more milk. Now, years ago I worked for the Langham Hotel in the city, and my job when I first started was to make all the scones for afternoon tea. And each week I would have the job of making over 1,000 scones a week. It was a massive task. So over the years, I feel that I have perfected scone making, and this is why, one of the reasons I always make my dough nice and soft, because I feel that your scones will turn out nice, light and fluffy if your dough's softer rather than being too hard. You also don't want to over knead your dough. So once your dough's come together, bring it out of the bowl and just knead it on your chopping board, and it's ready to go. All right, I'm just going to pop a little bit of flour on my chopping board, and then I'm going to push my dough down. But I'm not going to make it too low because I want them to rise a nice height. If you squash them too flat, then you get these crappy little thin scones, and we don't want crappy little thin scones. All right, I'm just going to grab one of my scone cutters because this one's not a great one. Perfect, good size. So I've got my non-stick baking tray, and I'm going to cut my scones out. Now when you cook scones, I always put them close together because that way they kind of stay a nice round shape. They meld into each other a little bit, but not too much. These are going to be really nice scones. Well, at least I hope so, with our nice fresh jam and our nice some fresh cream I've also got in the fridge. So pretty easy recipe to make. All you need is self-raising flour, butter and milk. Great afternoon snack. You could add cheese to the mixture. You could add fruit to the mixture. You can kind of be really creative with scones. You could even roll it out. You could roll them out nice and flat. Pop some Nutella on it, roll it up like a scroll and do them that way. You could put some bacon and cheese on top of them. There's a lot of things you can do with scones. It's about being creative. You could put chocolate chips in them. That'd be interesting. Actually, that'd be really nice with chocolate chips in them as well. Alright, and try and use up all of your mixture because you don't really want to waste it. Even this little one, I'm just going to roll it into a ball and pop it there. What I'm also going to do is pop a bit of milk on top just to help them brown while they're in the oven. Oops. A little bit of milk on top. That'll just help them colour up in the oven nicely. So that was a pretty quick and simple recipe. If you're hungry at home and you feel like something nice to eat, like I said, pretty quick, pretty easy, and you can pretty much do anything you want with them. So I'm going to pop them in the oven, and I'll be back a little bit later to put it all together. Alright, so my scones have come out of the oven, nice and big and fat, smell delicious. I will jam them up a little bit later and show you what they look like all done. Alright, so I'm back with my scones, my homemade jam and my cream. All turned out really nicely. just got one out. As I said, really easy recipe. They turned out beautiful and fluffy. Remember to have the dough a little bit moist. My jam's in here. Ooh, it's a little bit hard. It's set quite well, so I'm thinking that I may have cooked it a little bit too much. But that's okay. Yeah, it's a little bit hard, but that's okay. It'll still taste good. I'm not the most perfect jam maker in the world. I do try. Yeah, I think I'm just not quite spreadable, but not spreadable, but edible. That's my theory. Alright, pop some fresh whipped cream on top. And our scones are nice and ready. Alright, hopefully you guys will at least have a go at the scones through the week, because the ingredient, there's not many ingredients. Hopefully you'll have them in the cupboard, but I do understand if you don't. It is pretty hard at the moment. I hope you guys are okay. I hope you keep cooking, and let's hope we're back in the classroom soon. Alright, that's bye from me. Well, I have my glam on today for afternoon tea. Actually, it's not quite afternoon tea time, but I'm going to try my homemade scones with homemade jam. I have them here just in front of me. Oops, you can see them there. They look delicious. A bit under my fur coat. I better be careful not to put them on there. Cream on my nose. Just delicious. So I'd like to see you making scones at home, and if you do, I'd love to see some pictures.